You know that feeling when you go out, you're having a good time with friends, maybe a couple drinks,
Yeah.
and then bam, nothing.
We
A
can't trust
total
anymore.
blank.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
Hours
pure
just gone.
scandal.
Poof. And then the worst part, you find out something awful happened. That's what we're looking at today on the deep dive.
Right.
Some really disturbing events going on in Kortrijk, Belgium.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're going to dive into these recent arrests
Several bar
connected
owners were
to,
arrested.
I guess, drugging and sexual assault of women.
At least 41
41
women
women.
that they know of so far.
In
Yeah, it's
Belgium.
at least 41 women, and this was going on for a while, right?
Yeah, December 2021 to December
Oh.
2024.
So years?
3 years.
Wow. We've got a lot of information to go through. We've got a lot of news reports. We've got police investigations and
Statements from the prosecutors.
yeah, so we're going to try to make sense of this for everyone. We're going to break down what we know about who these people are, what they allegedly did, and
Kind of what it all means.
yeah, the implications. So first off, we know there were 5 men arrested,
Right.
and 3 of them are bar managers.
Yeah. 3 of them ran bars in Kortrijk.
Okay, so these guys were in charge of the places where these incidents were happening.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Okay, and they're facing some pretty serious charges.
Rape, sexual assault, also
Oh my
giving
God.
people harmful substances without their consent.
And they're looking at 41 victims.
At least
They're being
41 that they
drugged.
know of so
Yeah.
far. Yeah.
That's a crazy number. And we said this has been going on for years.
Yeah, from December 2021 to December 2024.
So how could something like this go on for so long?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, it really makes you wonder.
So let's talk about the alleged attacks and what the victims are saying.
Well, one of the really disturbing things is how similar their stories are. The prosecutors have said that there are some strong similarities
Yeah.
in a lot of these cases.
Hmm.
A lot of the women say they were offered these shots of alcohol.
Oh.
Okay.
And there are reports of this amaretto flavor.
Amaretto. So like an almond flavor.
Yeah, kind of like almond liqueur.
Okay.
And that seems harmless enough, right?
Right.
But after that, they say that their memory just goes blank. They don't remember anything.
Oh.
Wow.
And then they wake up, and there's evidence that something happened to
Okay.
them.
So it's like
Horrible.
this amaretto shot is the common thread.
It appears that way, at least in a lot of the reports.
And so do they know what drug they were using?
Well, they think ketamine
Ketamine.
was involved.
Ketamine. I mean, I know that's used for anesthesia, like in hospitals.
Right. It's used medically as an anesthetic,
Yeah.
but people also use it recreationally because it can cause hallucinations.
Oh.
Okay.
But the thing that makes it dangerous in this situation is that it can make you really drowsy
Yeah.
and it can cause amnesia. So people basically black out
Yeah.
and don't
They're
remember
taking
anything that
advantage.
happened.
So you wouldn't even know what was happening to you.
Exactly. You'd be completely vulnerable.
That's scary. Now, we mentioned earlier that
Comment
they
your thoughts
think
on this
these
topic.
guys were connected somehow,
Right.
even if it wasn't like a formal organization.
Yeah. So the prosecutor has been careful not to say it was an official criminal organization,
Right.
but they do think that these suspects, especially the 3 bar owners, were talking to each other about the attacks.
So they knew what was
Specific
going
3
on.
bar owners.
Yeah. It seems like they were sharing
They were
information
arrested.
at least.
And that's really worrying. I mean, even if it wasn't a super organized group,
It's still a network.
yeah, and it makes the whole thing seem even bigger and scarier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like this web of connections and shared knowledge. It's unsettling.
And then it gets weirder, right? Because some of these bars closed down.
Right. One bar went bankrupt last year, and another owner just recently said he was closing up shop.
So is that suspicious?
What makes you wonder, right? Did they close down because of the investigation? Or were they trying to get out before things got
Possible.
worse?
Yeah. I mean, you can't help but think that it's connected somehow.
It definitely raises questions about what they knew and when they knew it.
So what has the reaction been like to all of this?
Well, people are pretty upset, obviously.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Belgium's Interior Minister, Bernard Quinten, he came out and said these attacks were completely unacceptable.
Good.
Yeah, and he also pointed out something really important. He said that if a drug like
We can't trust
ketamine
anybody.
is easy to get and it's cheap, then it's going to be easier for people to use it to commit crimes.
That makes sense.
He's basically saying that we need to look at how easy it is to get these drugs if we want to stop these kinds of attacks.
And what about the people in Kortrijk? I mean, what's the mood like there?
Well, there are reports that the nightlife scene has really taken a hit.
Yeah,
Oh.
I bet.
Bars are closing
That's
down.
better.
People are staying home. They're scared.
I don't blame them.
And there's this quote from another bar owner. Dieter de Klerk and his staff were actually targeted too.
Oh, wow.
And he said, "We had heard rumors, but the reality is worse than expected."
Yeah.
So it sounds like there was this undercurrent of fear and suspicion even before the arrests.
Yeah, and now it's all come to the surface.
Exactly.
And legally speaking, where do things stand with the charges?
So right now, one of the 5 guys who was arrested has actually been charged, and he was a bar owner.
Right.
But the other 4, either they've been released, or they're still being questioned, or they're waiting to see a judge.
So it sounds like the investigation is still going on.
Oh, yeah. It's far from over.
So what are the defense lawyers saying?
Well, they're saying their clients are innocent until proven guilty, of course.
Of course.
And they're denying that there was any kind of coordinated network.
Okay.
They're basically saying that these guys didn't work together to do this.
Right.
And they're also complaining about what they call a trial by media because people have been sharing names and information online.
Which you can't really blame them for.
I mean, people are scared and they want answers.
Yeah. And what about the lawyers for the victims?
They're happy about the arrests, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They see it as a step in the right direction, and they're hoping that some of the suspects will confess.
So they can get some closure.
Exactly. One of the lawyers said that the scale of the case is disturbing, but not surprising.
Oh, really?
So it sounds like maybe there were already concerns about this kind of thing happening.
Interesting. And what about the mayor?
The mayor of Kortrijk, Ruth Vandenberg, she's condemned the attacks, and she's promised to increase security at nightlife
That's better.
spots.
Which is good. I mean,
Yeah.
they need to do something to make people
Yeah,
feel
that's right.
safer.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction.
So to wrap this up, what are the main things you think people should take away from this whole situation?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we're dealing with multiple arrests of people who are involved in the bar scene in Kortrijk,
Right.
and they're accused of drugging and sexually assaulting a lot of women.
Over a long period of time.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
The victims all have similar stories.
Yeah.
They were given this amaretto drink,
Right.
probably spiked with ketamine,
Yeah.
and then they blacked out and were assaulted.
It's terrifying.
It is. The investigation is still ongoing, but one guy has been charged already.
Okay.
And the whole thing has really shaken the community.
Yeah, you can imagine.
People are scared and they don't trust the bars anymore.
This whole thing is just so messed up.
It really is.
Yeah.
It makes you think about all the things we take for granted, like feeling safe when you go out.
Yeah. And how easy it is for someone to slip something into your drink.
And then the impact on the victims is just devastating.
Yeah, they might not even remember what happened to them, but they're still dealing with the trauma.
Exactly. And then there's the whole question of justice.
Right. Will they ever get justice?
It's a long road.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, what can we do to prevent this from happening again?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, part of it is personal responsibility, being aware of your surroundings, not leaving your drink unattended.
Yeah.
But it also goes beyond that.
Yeah.
I think we need to look at the role of bars and clubs.
Okay.
I mean, do they have a responsibility to make sure their patrons are safe?
I would say so.
And if they do, how can they actually do that? What kind of measures can they put in place?
That's a good
Yeah.
question. And it's one we all need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. It's about creating a culture of safety and accountability.
And making sure that everyone feels safe when they go out.
Yeah.
Exactly. We all deserve to have fun without fearing for our safety.
Well said. That's all the time we have for today, but this is definitely a conversation that needs to continue.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you next time.
Thanks.